Although we do kind of know the creature's very close because the night before a raccoon falls on the roof.
Oh man, he just like smashes that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have no sympathy for raccoons. I'll be very honest about that. So that scene did not bother me. They're disgusting creatures. So anyway, but hey people, this is the Scary Movie Project, the podcast where we talk about, I guess, scary movies. I am your host, Matt, and today, if they hear you, they hunt you. In a post-apocalyptic world, a family is forced to live in silence while hiding from monsters with ultra-sensitive hearing. Joining me today is show regular and super fan, as they say, Sara Alepin. Thank you for joining us today, Sara. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing well. We're already talking too much. The monsters might be hearing us, so we have to be very careful. Anyway, A Quiet Place. 2000, is it 2020? 18? Why am I like totally forgetting the year this movie was made?
I think it's
2018.
18.
Well, yeah, that'll work for us. 2018. Okay, A Quiet Place. So this is one of these movies where I just record stuff when I see it on TV and think that looks good. That looks good. And it sits in my DVR for months and months on end. I think a year this time. And I finally watched it recently. I thought it was fantastic.
I love that because I requested this a super long time ago.
Did you really? Okay,
I did. Yeah. You might not have known.
Now you get it, and now you get to talk about it.
Yeah, I am really excited to hear what your thoughts were, and especially your thoughts regarding the audio.
All right. So I know this is one that we thought about when we did mention this a while ago, because we did a history of audio in the horror film a year ago or so. And I think Tara may have touched on it, because now watching it for the first time, I get it, right? Because there are these amazing scenes where one of the daughter is deaf. So it's really, really incredible to watch the scenes from her perspective, where it's her viewpoint, and the camera kind of works that way. But then all of a sudden, it's just silence when it's happening because she can't hear. But then it's right back to the father or the son or someone else, and they can hear it, and it's their kind of thing. So it bounces back and forth. It's crazy. And at first, you might think like something's wrong where you're watching this thing, right? But then you understand how it's supposed to work that way. This movie's crazy because there's no talking. Like, I mean, yeah, they do talk in the movie, but there is no talking because, we should probably briefly, touch. You know, we do like to wreck spoilers for everybody here. So what? Post-apocalyptic world. Some kind of monsters have taken over apparently, and if they hear you loudly, they will eat you, or they'll kill you at least.
Yeah.
Is that fairly accurate? They don't give a whole lot of. I guess in a lot of these movies, though, they don't give you a whole lot of background on necessarily what has happened. It's just, this is where we are now, and this is what's happening, right?
Yeah. Right. So you kind of, the implication is that they're aliens. The creatures are aliens.
Oh, and there's like in the basement, like the dad has like a bunch of like newspaper clippings and articles. Yeah. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So it's like, there was a meteor hit in Mexico, and then, so you get the idea that this is like middle America, like cornfields and things. Yep. That where they're based. But then you get the impression that this is like a global devastating event that came from outer space. And they really look, so I don't know if you know this, Matt, but this was originally intended to be in the Cloverfield bundle of movies.
That's interesting. Okay, all right. That movie was interesting. It wasn't great. Okay.
It wasn't. And it would have been sad to have this be like housed within that, because it does stand on its own so well.
It's much better. It's much better.
It really is. I mean, first of all, it's not, it's at least steady cammed.
Well, and it's not supposed to be a found footage movie. It's,
it's
a scripted film, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the creatures look very similar to what you see in Cloverfield, which was one of the first things I noticed. I was like, why do they? So that's one of the reasons I looked that up, because I was just curious.
Too many. I think for me, they showed too much monster, right? I don't want to see a whole lot of it sometimes. And I don't think I wanted to see that much. Near the end, as it kept going, I saw too much of it. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, especially because they did such a good job in the like opening sequence. So one of the children, and initially there are three children.
Okay, this scene is like, whoa, yeah.
It is so yeah.
It's
Yeah.
rough.
It is like heart crushing
Yeah.
to watch. So it opens into the older son, the middle child is sick, Marcus. And so they go to this pharmacy and there are these missing people posters everywhere. They're all over the place. You get the impression that just like everything is effed.
Do you watch Walking Dead?
I do. Or I did.
It reminds me of one of the runs they would make to go find like supplies, right? When they go to the
Yeah, totally. Actually, I had there's that one jump scare when they first go to the pharmacy and the the guy reaches through the prescription. I had like a moment of that when I was rewatching it.
Good.
I mean, same kind of thing too, where The Walking Dead, like one of the coolest opening sequences in that, like, is that there is no audio except that sign banging against the gas station.
Right.
Which is like totally crazy. And then there's no sound or there's no dialogue for an extended period. Anyway, similar kind of, it gave me the similar vibes. And then, they get these prescription, or she gets a prescription, the mother gets a prescription, and then they leave the pharmacy. But before they leave, the youngest son, Bo, gets a rocket, like a spaceship off the shelf that, lights up and makes all kinds of noises and things. And he ends up sneaking that with him. So the daughter, Reagan, who is the oldest child, sneaks it back to him after his dad takes it away.
With the batteries and everything, yeah.
Yeah, he grabs the batteries. And it's like, if the batteries weren't in it, this whole thing would have been avoided. And I think that's like the heart or the really like the tough part. But then they leave the town and they're walking back, and you want to fill in here? Do you...
No, I mean, it's just like it's a crazy scene because nothing's happening. It's quiet. You're wondering to yourself how you're enjoying a movie with no sound, because we live in a time where we have these talkies, as they say. We don't do silent films anymore. But it's done so well, so you get it, and it's paced well and it's perfect. And then you don't hear anything, but you see the kid like put the batteries in, obviously, and he's playing with the spaceship and it's flying around. You're sitting there going, "Oh man." And then they hear it and it's their reactions, and they turn, and the dad, the mother has a look of, it's like, this sucks, this is happening, but her look almost is, I already know what's going to happen, and I can't even like deal with this right now, because it's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
And the dad, he tries to chase after him to get him out of the way in time, but that monster just comes bashing through the scene super fast, grabs the kid. That's the end of it. That's the kind of thing I want to see, the monster quick. Like, I want to see that. It wasn't long enough to even see what the heck this thing even is. It was just like, okay, that's it. That's a wrap. And then, like, you need to be quiet pretty much all the time. Or that's what's going to happen to you. That was powerful.
And it was, I think it was even amplified by the fact that your initial experience of this is Reagan not knowing the sound is happening behind her.
She has no idea.
So it's her point of view, and you don't know that the sound is happening immediately, because you just see her and you see him behind flying the rocket, which is now lighting up. And then it flashes to Emily Blunt, the mother, who like covers her mouth. And then John.
Are they married?
They are. So
yes, they are, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So that's one of my trivia pieces that I brought.
Oh, I ruined it. Sorry.
No. So initially, Emily Blunt did not want to play that role.
Okay.
And he wanted her to, was my understanding of it. But they ended up considering Anne Hathaway and
I couldn't see Anne Hathaway.
Adams. Yeah, maybe, I can't see either of them for that.
I don't that it's too. Well, I mean, Anne Hathaway does serious roles, but I don't know if that would. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
I can't see it. I feel like Emily Blunt does such a good job.
She's great. Role. I think she's excellent. Yeah.
I think that might be why, like, it's nothing against either of those actresses.
No.
I just can't see it because I think Emily Blunt is just perfect. And all of the photos that are in the house and like that they're looking through, that Lee is looking through on the top of the silo in the, beginning of the like not the opening sequence, but like right after, they are actually Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's children and like family photos.
See, yeah. So that brings me to an interesting point. You know what I've always wanted to do? When you go to the store and you look at the photo frames and they have like fake families in them, I want to buy like 20 of those and hang them in my house with those fake people and just hang them up in my house. Yeah. And just see what people think when they come over. Like, who is that? Oh, that's my cousin. And it's my uncle. Yeah.
You have a lot of professional looking family photos.
Yes, we do. We spend lots of time to have our photos taken very well. I've always wanted to do that. Anyway, moving on.
Really funny.
So yeah, that scene was intense, right? And then it's like, okay, so what is like a year later, or what do they say? How much longer later? I don't even remember how long. It's like a year.
So that was like day 48 or something.
Oh, they list the days. Yeah, day 300
day
and whatever.
89, and then it's 472.
Okay, so a long time. So we don't know how long the world's been like this, but clearly it's been a long time, because the first few minutes I didn't understand the sand. Then I got it. But so obviously this has been a long time, because how freaking long would that have taken to put down sand for miles and miles and miles? Clearly, I don't know how far they live from that store, but I'm sure it's at least a mile, and all around their property and the lights they've put up. Like, this has clearly been an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. I mean,
the sand is crazy. Like that was wild.
Like, where did they even find that much sand?
I mean, don't they go near like a beach or something at one point, remember? Or like a waterfall? Was there? Yeah, I don't know though.
Yeah.
You just go to you bust into a Home Depot and you steal all the sand.
I mean,
and you
just
drag
imagine,
all the sand back.
Yeah, carrying that back, because you can't drive a car. I mean, you can't roll anything. It's not like on the road in the which I read the book. I'm sure
I was thinking about that. If you started a car, that unless you were that wouldn't you'd probably end up in a lot of trouble, right? If you started a car, I would guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Even if you were inside, well, that thing could probably rip that car open. Yeah. All right. So yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end,
that's right. They have the car scene.
Yeah. I actually just had a little bit of guilt. Like, I shouldn't spoil this.
No, you should. So I mean, I'm just thinking about stuff like that. Like, if you're walking, honestly, as long as you shut up, you can go out and do stuff. Like, that's the crazy part. But what if you got to sneeze? Like, what happens, man? What do you do?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, and all of the other things that just make sounds. Like, you can't run your heat pump.
No. Air conditioning. Oh my God, that would suck.
Yeah. I mean, and it gets hot in middle America and like these cornfields. I mean,
yes. That would be terrible. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine, like, if you have to be silent to that level, even having a fire crackling would be problematic.
It's one of those things you find out slowly as lots of people die, unfortunately. You find these things out. And I just don't get, like, why. I'm wondering why they come and kill people when they never really explain what that's about. I know it doesn't matter, whatever, but I don't know.
So I actually was thinking about this, and I wanted your insight into it because, I know things about movies, or film, but I don't know the level that you do by any means. So at the end, when they are showing too much of the creature,
yes, too much,
they are showing that, like, it has this like really sensitive hearing system, like its head breaks open into allowing sound in. And to me, which of course exposes vulnerability, and that is how they eventually kill the one creature. But to me, like, it doesn't look like they eat them.
No, I don't think so, right?
And it doesn't look like they just are angry about the sound, because they are actually like hunting them. They go into the basement of the house because they hear a sound, So I didn't really understand that either.
They're like the aliens from like the Alien, but they just go and kill you. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
There's something about that just makes it slightly less interesting to me.
No, I know what you mean. That's why I wondered. Like, there seems to be no real reason for it. It's interesting. I mean, who cares? They're scary. I don't want to mess with them, but
Yeah, like I'm not
yeah.
interested. My laugh would be really problematic.
Man, anyone's. So, okay, here's okay. That's the one question I have. But here's the overarching question. Okay. All right. We find out she's pregnant. Okay. She's gonna have a baby. I only have one word, and I'm gonna ask it, and I'll let you chime in however you want. Why? Why?
I'm guessing it was unintentional.
What are you thinking?
I mean,
I do not understand what would compel you to do this. I know that's what the audience wants to see it, and they want us to say that. Why are you doing this? Why is it like the drive to humanity must continue? I don't understand it because I mean, pretty sure last time I checked, babies cry a lot.
yeah, I mean, and they had to create it's so creepy to me because it's like a coffin. But it's this
right?
soundproofed.
Yes, I got to jump the baby in there.
Yeah, and it has
they were planned. They were all like set up for this. They were prepped for it.
Yeah. So the babies are actually real infants, and they had to be very, very careful with them. But they're twins, and that is like a newborn set of babies.
Yeah,
like it's not. I mean, it's actually newborn in
like I know.
real life.
Hey, could you imagine her in that scene when she is about to give birth? She's in the tub. I can't imagine like, wow. I don't even know what to say about that.
No,
and she's trying to be quiet the whole time, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Remember the nail? Remember the nail she steps on?
Oh my God, that is like for me, that is such a neck tightening moment of there's foreshadowing.
Like, her reaction is like, oh man, this sucks.
Yeah, like there's nothing she can do about it.
No, it's awful.
So she had been down the basin and she's carrying the laundry sack up, and it gets stuck, and since she's so pregnant, she's like 3 weeks from her due date.
Yeah.
So the nail gets pulled up, and then when the creature comes to the house, then they end up, and I can't even remember why the creature comes to the house. What sound happens?
Which scene are we talking about?
When she steps on the nail, like when she's about to give birth.
I don't remember. Unless it was that when she actually screams.
Does she scream when she steps on the nail?
Well, she doesn't scream, but she definitely goes like, ah! I mean, like she yells, like it is crazy. She has to say something. It's just too painful.
Yeah.
She definitely says something audible.
Yeah. And of course, immediately, although we do kind of know the creature's very close, because the night before a raccoon falls on the roof.
Oh man, he just like smashes that thing. I have no sympathy for raccoons. I'll be very honest about that. So that scene did not bother me. They're disgusting creatures. So anyway, but I do love the fireworks though. Yeah. That was great.
So the cool thing about that to me was that, like, Bo dies because he has this rocket situation, and he thinks that's how they're going to escape the creatures, is to get on a rocket. That's like the whole shtick in the beginning. That's why he wants to take it with him. Right. But then the sign that they use for the fireworks is rocket. So when they're speaking in ASL, or when they're signing in ASL, it's the same sign. And so a lot of the ASL is actually subtitled. It wasn't intended to be subtitled either.
So that was going to be one of my questions probably on your trivia. I don't wreck your trivia again.
No, it's cool. You're just leading me into my trivia.
How many, did anyone on the set besides her, anyone know ASL, or did everyone have to learn it?
They had to learn it. So Millicent Simmons, who plays the daughter who is deaf, Reagan, she is actually deaf she had not an overdose of medication, but she was overprescribed medication as a child. So she was deaf since childhood. But she wasn't born deaf. So John Krasinski who directed it and starred in it, brought in like an ASL teacher, and everyone had to learn it. And they had to be proficient in it. So I thought that was a really cool piece that he actually cared enough to really like.
Well, you have to be accurate with something. You can't fake that and piss off a million people who watch this movie and say, what the hell is your problem? Yeah, you have to. I mean, you have to. Right.
Yeah, I mean, but like,
be offensive.
It's one thing to learn just your lines. Like was it Roxette who never spoke English? Not Roxette, it's somebody else, but they only spoke German, but they memorized their songs in English and they didn't actually know what they were singing.
I have not heard that. That's crazy.
It's not Roxette, but it's somebody from that same time period. I will find out and let you know.
We always like to bring music into our episode, so there you go.
So to me, it was really interesting because it wasn't just learning your lines, it was learning ASL.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's so much to do.
And they used it on the set during production.
Yeah.
Wow. So they even had like the PAs and everybody learn it.
Literally everybody.
Yeah.
That is pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. There's something about this movie that like I just really love, that if you're going to use any sort of, like if you're going to lean into something, like you should really lean into it.
Go all in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he does. I mean, this is, he'd never directed a movie, right? No.
I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, he does a pretty damn good job. So yeah, it was, I really did enjoy it. And so that's interesting, he keeps trying to work on the hearing aids and
the cochlear implant.
She just gets so mad after a while and she's like, stop, I don't care. I'm done. I give up. And at the end, like, you feel bad because she goes down to his workshop and she finds all the stuff he's been trying to do. And it's like, damn. But, he was trying to do the best he could, right?
Yeah. I mean, cochlear implants are tough. It is an insanely complicated piece of technology. And it's such I do not envy trying to mimic that, especially when he was pulling from like stereos and things. Like he didn't have,
I didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah. I mean, he was just doing the best he could.
Right.
But so at the end, so like what you just alluded to is that there's like some stress between the daughter and the father throughout this whole movie. Like there's she wants to go with,
she thinks, do you not love me? Yeah, she always wants to go with them places, and she gets all bent out of shape about that, right?
Yeah, and she's just devastated whenever the cochlear implant doesn't work, and she tries it, she does it quietly, very teenage girly, or like young teenage girl, where she goes in her room and tries it. Right. And then she's just totally devastated when it doesn't work. But at the end, after he gets wounded, and the kids are in the truck and the creature jumps on the truck, and that they're about to get like just ripped to pieces, and he signs to her. The line was supposed to be, I love you. And she actually made him cry because John Krasinski, because she suggested changing it to, I have always loved you.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, it hits you so hard. Yeah. It was such a like simple change, but holy shit, it hits you like right in the gut.
Yeah. No, I think everything was, there's just great. I mean, it's very, pacing intense. It really had me going. I was really, really into it watching it. I was able to burn through it quickly. Sometimes I watch these movies and I watch the part of it for a day and I pick it up the next day or something. This was a straight through. I thought it was great. But yeah, I'm just thinking about all the stuff all these lights they had outside and all the sand, and you wonder how long this had. I like that they showed like those articles, but they didn't show too much stuff, right? So you never do know how long this has been going on, or when did it start, or is the government now most people are dead, I guess. We don't know anyone else who's around. They don't communicate with anybody, obviously. So yeah, I thought it was, it's definitely scary, right?
Yeah.
Is it like an actual horror movie? Yeah, I guess so. Is that what it's supposed to be though? I mean, I don't really know.
I don't know. For me, those categories kind of
Right.
blur. I mean, it's kind of a
I would,
psychological thriller.
yeah. I don't want to, go on a tangent on that, but I think it's pretty close. I mean, I think you could consider it one for sure.
Yeah.
But I think you should, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely scary. Like
Yeah.
it definitely, and there's a lot of emotion to it too.
Oh,
Which,
it's super emotional. Yeah. This woman's now got to go raise this baby with other kids by herself. Like, what if something happens to her? Dude.
yeah, I can't imagine. So the crazy thing is, and I know we're not talking about this movie, but I'm still gonna just let you know.
Bring it up.
So I started, after I finished rewatching it last night in preparation for this, I started A Quiet Place 2, which
Okay, so I was gonna I haven't seen it. Is it good?
It literally starts the next day.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. I like that.
So, and it tells you like how it all happened in the first opening sequence, and then they like
Okay.
and then it cuts to like present day, like the same exact day
Okay.
that this all happened. So she's in the same outfit.
Right.
There's blood on the front of her from giving birth because she had a difficult birth. It's crazy. So you're gonna have to watch it. Like,
No, I do. I want to see it. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. So crazy thing, I have to find my trivia fact on this.
Yeah, what you got?
To quote it exactly, but Stephen King had a strong opinion about this movie.
What did he say?
So he said, A Quiet Place is an extraordinary piece of work, terrific acting, but the main thing is the silence, in all caps.
Yeah.
And how it makes the camera's eye open wide in a way few movies manage.
Okay.
So he tweeted that, and I guess it was the best compliment that John Krasinski has ever received.
I mean, coming from Stephen King, how's it not, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's amazing. So that's the thing, right? Like, you don't have any sound. You're just looking at, all right, so look at, what the actors have to do, like body language and stuff, right? Like, we've talked about, Michael Myers and Leatherface on this show, right? Or Jason Voorhees. They don't talk, right? So all their emotion comes from body language or how that's kind of what you're doing here, right? Like, you're not talking, so it needs to be emotion and things like how you carry yourself. And that's really interesting, and what the camera does and how things look, and what your set is, deducing, from that, oh, this sand is for this reason, because they never tell you that. You got to find that out.
Yeah.
So they have to put those like pieces together for you. That's just so well done. It's super well done. It's giving you everything you need to find out what it is without being obvious about it. I think that was really great, and it's done so well because you could easily screw that up, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you definitely could. And the cool thing about ASL is that, to me, it's almost like a dance, because you're using your body to communicate, but it's a lot of facial expressions too, that make so it's not just and a lot of people like think it's just your hands that are telling you something, but it's actually like your facial expression is a big piece of it. Like, you raise your eyebrows when you ask a question.
Yes.
And
like a frown or something like that or whatever, right?
Yeah. So
totally.
even it's so fascinating that to watch, and they nail it, in my opinion. No,
they do. That was really well done for a guy that had never, I don't know. Sometimes when you make a movie for the first time, sometimes it's a swing and a miss, right? So now, did he do the sequel? He did the sequel, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's in the opening because it's like the original.
So I was going to say, I wonder how much easier or difficult it was for him this time to just direct it instead of, when you're in a movie, that's very difficult to do all those things at once.
Yeah. And he actually played the creature. So he like got in the creature costume.
That's some he's a pretty talented dude to be able to do stuff like that, right?
That is not
easy. That is really not easy. So I give him all the credit in the world. All right, what trivia? What you got? I want to hear this.
All right. The first voiced line of dialogue doesn't happen until 38 minutes into the film.
Oh Lord, it is that long, isn't it? Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It was shot in just 36 days.
Where? I want to know where.
Oh, I don't have that.
I want to say it's in New York, I think.
Oh, upstate New York. You know what? You're right. It is in upstate New York.
I think so.
do have that somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's where it is. And you said in how many days? 36 days?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty quick.
Yeah. And the opening sequence had to be the last one because throughout the movie, he has a beard and he had to shave his beard for the opening sequence.
Yeah, continuity.
Yep. Yep.
That's pretty important.
It's so important.
Yeah,
I'm looking for where it actually is. It's in the Catskills.
Okay. That makes sense. But do they ever actually then say where in America it's supposed to be in the movie? They never say that though, right? No, we don't need to know that. Okay. It's any town, USA, right?
Yeah. So they took I think this is the movie. I could be totally lying here, but I'm pretty positive I'm not making this up. They took the set and relocated it to Universal Studios, but they actually did shoot it in upstate New York.
Do we know how they did the monsters?
I don't.
I wonder if they were, animatronic monsters or if they were CGI monsters or what. I'm curious.
I'm going to guess it's CGI because of the last scene where you see like the ear opening.
Oh,
thing.
That part. Right. Yeah. But you could.
At least that. Yeah. I mean, but John Krasinski getting in the creature suit implies that there was some sort of suit and that to me, I don't see that as being a green screened suit, that he would be like getting in.
I was definitely curious about if they did some of that for some of those scenes. I wonder about the scenes too when they finally are in that silo, in the grain silo, I guess at the end.
I have that's like a fear of mine. Being
stuck in a grain silo?
Yeah.
There's some interesting fears out there. That's an interesting. I'm going to need to hear more about this one. All right, please explain this.
So I grew up in the country, and farming equipment is some of the most terrifying thing. Like every single thing on a farm can kill you.
No, yeah.
It is insane.
One of the best deaths in all of the Halloween movies happens on a piece of farm equipment in Halloween 6. I love it. It's great.
It's just everything. I mean, it reminds me of
you're right though. I never thought about that.
House of Horror when yes. You know what I'm talking about?
Groundskeeper Willie? Yes. Yeah, of course.
He turns into the lawn mowing equipment.
Yeah.
It's seriously, farm equipment is terrifying. Like,
no, you're right. It is. That's true.
It's just, there's something about it. But when I was a little girl, we were at somebody's house that like had a grain silo. And I asked my parents, like, how do you climb that ladder? Like, are you allowed to climb that ladder? Because I was never afraid of heights. I always loved them. And so they realized immediately that I was the person that was going to fall in the grain silo.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so then I asked them, like, well, can't you just like swim down? Like there's space between the grains. So like in theory, there's air.
You're thinking this is like the money bin from like the DuckTales cartoon?
Yes.
Where and you just swim inside the money? Right.
Yep. And
I like that theory. But so not true.
It's so not true. I mean, even last night I was thinking about it when they fall in the grain silo. And I first of all, it is very unclear how they get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it?
So then I started thinking about this conversation I had with my parents as a child where I was like, can't you just grit your teeth and breathe through your teeth? And because there has to be air between grain. I mean, I
definitely don't want to ever be in that position. I know that.
Yeah. Well, hence why I have a fear of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are the odds of this happening to you? Probably less than 1% at this point in your life?
At this point in my life, not living in the country anymore, it's like 0%.
Yeah, I think you're safe at this point. But that's now, would that actually have a name for it? Because some of these fears actually have names for them. Would this actually be classified as anything?
I mean, it probably like I don't know that there is it would probably be like a smothering or like
Okay.
drowning in air, which is the weirdest
Drowning.
thing.
No, that might make sense actually. Yeah.
Or crushed,
Yeah.
like ooh, there's
Right.
so many, they're bad, it's bad all around.
Right. 'Cause if you sink, yeah, that's what's happening to you. You're getting crushed by it, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Holy
like if
cow.
that door hadn't gone in, you just keep like it's like quicksand, you just keep
Yes, it's
going
quicksand. There
down.
you go. That's a good way to, yeah, exactly.
But you don't get far enough to get to the bottom, and the door does not open from the inside.
Well, note to everyone out there, don't fall into a grain silo, please.
Yes,
Please
it
be
is.
careful.
It is not the
Yeah.
place you want to be.
No, not so much. But they do survive, thank goodness.
Yeah, maybe when the creature rips into the side, it's right next to that ladder. That's the only thing I could think of. And they
Right.
both get on the door that falls in so they can like push over. But it was unclear. And it was one of the few things I noticed where it was like they missed
call.
something for me. But I mean, of course, you'd actually have to have that fear or background to have noticed that.
That's okay. Fair enough. So you did. There you go. Somebody saw this. So there's a lot. So maybe this is answered in the sequel. I don't know. Whatever. I'll find out, I guess. But how many of these monsters do you think there are?
I don't know. Okay,
Are we talking
so
like thousands, billions, hundreds,
I
millions?
mean, it seems like it's worldwide, right? Because they have that newspaper clipping that says that it landed in Mexico too.
Right.
There are on the whiteboard, it says there are 3 in the area, 3 confirmed in the area.
But then at the end, when they turn on the deal and she figures out how to finally, and she amplifies it, you see like a ton of them, right?
Yeah, and then they in the second one they move locations, so they leave the farm.
Okay.
I don't want to like spoil it for you, but
not yet, because I haven't. Well, I know that's what we do on this show, but I haven't watched it yet. So
I know I don't want to spoil
Can't
it
ruin it for me.
You get to ruin for other people.
Yes. When it's your show, you can ruin it for anybody you want. That's the beauty of it.
But there are creatures in other places.
Oh,
so,
I'm sure.
It's really interesting. Like I was thinking the same thing. How many are there? Are they across all the continents? I mean, it seems like if they weren't, then those other continents, like those other countries would come in and like bomb or whatever.
But as we saw, he tried sending out some SOSs and he couldn't seem to reach anybody, right? So we don't, this is kind of like, one of the great movies of all time, Independence Day, right? I mean, who doesn't love Independence Day?
I love Independence Day.
It is pretty great. Terribly great. Because once they find out how to take the sons of bitches down, they are able to communicate though. So it doesn't seem like there's much communication with the rest of the world here. So again, my questions all may be answered here in the sequel. I don't know. I'm rambling, but yeah, because those things are nasty and I don't like them. And I'm glad they found a way to kill them. So
yeah.
We'll
I mean,
it
actually reminds me a little bit of Stranger Things. So if you like Stranger Things, you'd probably like this movie, I would think.
I still haven't watched that show. Yeah, can you believe that? Isn't that terrible? I know.
I have to rewatch it because my husband said he wasn't interested in it. And then I got through the first whole season. What are they on, season 2 now?
2. They're on like 4 or 5, I think now.
Okay. So I got all the way through to the current season. And then he was like, hey, I really want to watch this show. Are you interested? And I was like, well, I guess I'm rewatching the whole thing. So I'm a season behind.
I one of these days, you know what? You can't watch all these shit. It's impossible. Every day somebody tells me about, sends me this, hey, did you watch this? Hey, did you I can't watch all this stuff. I mean, I would love to, but once I get paid a lot of money to do it, which will hopefully be soon, obviously, I can do all that. So, okay, if you lived in this world, what would you do? What would you spend your time doing besides not making any noise? Like, what would you try to do?
I mean, I would probably be the one in charge of like hunting, farming, and fishing because that's where my skills lie.
Right. It's always interesting to see, like, going back to like Walking Dead, where people had, previous careers and lives, and then once this world started, they could do whatever the hell they wanted or something they've always wanted to do or something. But yeah, like, because like Walking Dead, like you can make a bunch of noise and the zombies will hear you and come get you, right? But you can kill them. Whereas this is like, yeah, you make some noise and you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it's lightning fast.
Yeah, you're pretty much done. So I just don't know how I would spend, yeah, like day to day. I'd be, oh my God, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah, like what would your skill set be that they would use?
I don't know. What I do would, well, I don't know how helpful shooting video and doing things like that would be. I don't know if that would be helpful to anybody at that point.
Well, actually, your understanding of audio could be very helpful for,
That could be. That's true. And I
So
would just spend all day wandering around my property and wandering around the world and making sure I didn't sneeze or make any noise with my feet and finding out how to get out of this world. I'd probably end up getting myself in trouble and getting killed at some point. I probably wouldn't. I like to think I'd last a while in an apocalyptic world, but I'm probably just thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, I went to survival school growing up. Living in the country is a different beast. So.
Yeah, it's like I said, I like to think I would do that, but I'm probably incorrect about that. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows, right? So it seems like the people that would not that you wouldn't think would be the ones that would weasel their way out and find someone to latch onto or somebody, but you're alone in this deal. There's like no one around. So I don't know. It's pretty.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you can't really trust, as you learn, you can't trust anyone to not make sounds around you that you don't know.
Yep. You couldn't have a pet with you. You couldn't have a baby. Like, yeah, I mean, you really can't. You kind of have to go solo, or you got to go with someone who you trust, who you know this is gonna be okay with. So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. Yep. See, zombies, I'm ready for zombies. I'm good. Like, I have a plan. I actually have a plan for zombies. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but we can get into that another day. But these things, yeah, I don't know, man. They threw me for a loop. All right, did you have any more trivia for us?
Let's see. So, I thought this was like kind of weirdly interesting, actually, and I have a question for you. But the family's last name is Abbott, and apparently that's because in Catholicism, an abbot is the leader of a monastery, and abbots in monasteries, like the family, lead self-sufficient communities, which often support themselves through means such as farming.
There you go.
And then in some monasteries, there's also a vow of silence.
Oh, yeah, how about that?
And members will not wear shoes when there is a vow of silence, which they don't wear shoes throughout the movie, and will communicate infrequently with spoken language. And then they pray together in silence, like the family does in the film.
Yeah. Okay. So he really thought out every little piece here. This is, wow, amazing. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, too, is that the family name is never spoken. I don't think any of their names are spoken.
No, I don't believe so. Not that I remember. No,
because I had to look it up.
I like movies like that never tell you really who these people are. So have you ever seen a movie called The Road?
I read the book.
Oh,
but I saw the movie. I just referenced that. That's so weird.
I read the book and I watched the movie, and I like them both. They're great. Kind of no one in that movie has names. It's the father, it's the son, it's the guy, it's whatever, right? Like, we're just seeing these people. We don't need to know who they are necessarily. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. And there's like something where you have to know them in a different way, because your name does kind of tell a story. I believe in naming the way a lot of people believe in astrology.
Okay.
I think there are certain characteristics that are associated with certain names. Does it always hold true? No, but in a lot of cases it does.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting too. And the only reason that we even know the name at all of the family is the end titles. Yeah.
Right.
So they're like actually named in the.
And if you
credits.
read like a review, they'll probably name them there, and you're like, oh, I didn't know who they even know that person was. Okay, right. So
yeah,
pretty. Yeah. That's
okay,
cool.
So question.
Okay,
for you.
What you got?
You know the sound when the creature is about to come, like that strings sound.
Yeah.
That sound is in so many horror movies.
Okay.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's like a shrieking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Like
what is it? I guess is your question.
Like,
Yeah.
what was the agreement that this is the sound we're going to use to provoke anxiety in people?
Because it works. Because it works. Right? It just works. Yeah.
Every time I hear it now, I think it like zaps me to a quiet place, because there is like no sound throughout the entire movie. I mean, the only sound that doesn't change when you go to Reagan, the daughter's point of view, is the music.
Yeah.
But so the music and that sound are like the predominant things that you hear. And so now every time I hear it, I'm like, A Quiet Place all of a sudden when I'm watching other movies. But the number of movies it's in is like shocking.
And it's amazing because you never thought about it till then, right? It's so interesting.
Never.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah, now you're going to hear it everywhere. You're going to have to let me know how often you pick it up, because it's seriously like, I wonder how far it goes back. Like, what's the history of that sound?
That's worth a Google search, I would say. I'm sure you're not the only person who's wondering that right now.
I don't know how to even Google that. How do you Googleize that?
There's a way. I'm sure there's a way to find out something. There's got.
Let me know. Something. I'm really curious.
Our listeners will jump in on that and let us know. We need help on this one. We ask you for your help out there.
I was like, maybe Matt knows this answer. I
don't. It's pretty interesting though.
I do have one final trivia piece.
What you got?
So we talked about the bathtub scene where Emily Blunt is giving birth, and she's having like a terrible birth and whatever, and she ends up like passing out. There's actually a condition that we're not going to go into, but they really like did their research on this, involving the placenta. But anyway, so she did the bathtub scene in one take. And according to John Krasinski, as soon as he said cut, she left the character and asked the crew, "What's everyone having for lunch?"
Wow. Those are old jokes that you hear on these sets sometimes, where they have these horrible, disgusting, bloody body moments, and then they break lunchtime. Let's go. And it's like everybody goes off by themselves and eats by themselves for an hour because no one wants to be around each other after stuff like that. That's a good one.
I thought you'd appreciate that. I love a good like behind the scenes, like funny moment.
Yep. That's a good one. Oh boy. Well, yeah, overall, very, very good film. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was really good. I definitely am going to watch that sequel soon. I liked it a lot. That's one of those you could probably make a bunch of these movies, quite frankly. You could probably keep going with them.
Yeah.
But 1, 2 is probably enough. So I think that's probably fine. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being on. So pimp yourself out here. You got to tell everybody you've been on before, but where does everybody find you? Where can they find everything that you do?
Well, I mean, probably the most applicable part is my podcast, both of my podcasts. So The Wedding Dish is my wedding related podcast. So if you're planning a wedding, which, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, maybe it's the theme of A Quiet Place. Like, maybe
no one talks. Great wedding. I want to go to one of those.
That would be really
Everyone shuts their mouth for 4 hours. That'd be great.
More like 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How about that?
That would be so crazy. And you get married by the creature.
Someone needs to do this.
Or the guy who screams in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. Somebody brings a rocket ship.
Yep. Oh man. So that's one of my podcasts. And the other one is Laughing with Gingers. I'm the co-host, and
I've been on it. It's quite a show.
Yes. Yeah. Matt has come on before. We play trivia. It's a game show where we share silliness and joy. So
we like silliness.
Yeah.
And joy. We like both.
I would not make it through A Quiet Place with
not
that
so
laugh.
Much. Not so much. Awesome. All right, check her out. So you guys know the deal. Jump on the sites. We're everywhere: Instagram, Facebook. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, everywhere that you get that whole internet thing it's catching on these days. Rate, review, give me suggestions. What do you want to listen to? Join us on our next episode. We are going to have a favorite. We had an author by the name of J.W. Oker on previously. Spoke about living in Salem. He's going to join us again, and we're going to talk Stephen King, the movie 1408. Ooh. So feel free to join us next time on that. But for now, Again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys next time on the program. Thank you.
The Scary Movie Project podcast. Learn more at thescarymovieproject.com.